Hello and good afternoon. I am Dr. Mystica Jordan. I am the owner and founder of Jordan Peer Recovery Training. I am sharing this video with you so that as you're exploring completing training with us, I can answer some of your questions up front. So the best way that I can kind of summarize this information is in the who, what, when, where, and how fashion. Hopefully it'll cover a lot of the questions you may have. So the who. Jordan Peer Recovery Training is a nationally approved and now really internationally approved peer recovery training. We are approved by NADAC, the Association of Addiction Professionals, and so NADAC has an international footprint. So wherever there's a peer recovery credential, then Jordan Peer Recovery Training is an approved training provider for that. In addition, we are also approved in many IC and RC states. And which means one way or another we're covering your state, whatever state that you're in. What else about us? So the what piece. So what is it that makes us different? So what makes us different is the first piece is that we build cultural competencies. A lot of trainings are great, and they have a lot of, you have options for trainings, but the difference between us is that we become a one-stop shop. The what makes us great is that we build cultural competencies in a way and in a fashion that no other training entity has been able to do in this space. We go beyond talking about humility and cultural humility to actually building a skill set so that when you're delivering peer recovery services, you can do it in a way that you understand through your lenses how to see that person that you're calling a peer and how they see through their lenses. And we have our own format and modality to do that, and it's incorporated in every single one of our trainings. What else makes us different is that in many states we become a one-stop shop. So if you are in a state that's an IC and RC state and a NADAC state and some of the other independently approved states, we have created our training so that it meets various learning objectives by doing a crosswalk, which means that if you take our training, instead of you taking 8 different classes, in many of the locations, you'll be able to take the one course, our core course, and then after you take that core course, you're able to apply through multiple state boards if you're in a state that has more than one of the boards that we're approved in. The other what? We have a battery of specialty courses we've created partnerships with colleges throughout the U.S. and universities throughout the United States, as well as we're exploring relationships with other international universities to not only give you the core training, but because of some of the earlier work we were doing when the Peer Recovery Initiative kind of took its way, in our local area, what we started with was that we had a bunch of peers who were doing the core training, but when they got employed, they did not have the soft skills, so we built an essential skills course, or they didn't have the specific competencies beyond the peer recovery course that they needed to be able to engage and be successful in the work that they were doing. So we built it. We built a battery of specialty courses, so almost as if you were going to a college and you could apply to be in the sociology major. I picked that because that was my undergraduate degree. You would take your general education courses and then you would pick your specific courses to that track. So as I advanced into my master's and my doctorate classes, what I ended up with, it was courses specific to counseling and psychology. And so what we built was you take the general courses, which is your core course, and then after you satisfy that, and that's what you're going to need for certification, then after you do that, then you can move on to more advanced courses. And so you can pick kind of your major, if you will. The other what piece that makes us different is that we are a peer-led organization, and so including myself, we all have had our experiences in either as a direct lived experience or an indirect lived experience. So because many people have asked, I want to kind of explain where we get the energy from what we do, because we're nonstop. Part of it comes from from my passion for to see people recover, especially minority groups. My father died in March 18, 2018, and he died because he had a 30-year substance use disorder. But not only him, every last one of his siblings, except for one, had a substance use disorder, and the substances varied, but the disorder was consistent. And I wanted to understand how to break it, and then also having to navigate the waters with him as his power of attorney and navigate the hospital systems. I noticed that there were things that minority groups were not getting access to. I could take advantage of the fact that I had a doctoral degree, and so when I showed up and said that I'm Dr. such and such, then a lot of times it moved cultural barriers because of the education status, but it shouldn't have had to be that. And so I don't blame the providers as much as I blame the system, and so we have to be a part of fixing the system. And so Jordan Peer Recovery Training is a part of fixing the system by educating people to become and developing cultural competency skills so that the right services are partnered with the right person's needs. And so we teach that in all of our courses. In addition to what drives me is having not only the indirect experience, but also a lived experience. I wouldn't be the person that was in the DSM that you would consider substance use disorders meet that criteria, but in many ways, having my own lived experience from being in college and undergrad and drinking on campus to the point where I would have seizures, and then one day waking up and saying, yeah, this isn't for me. And my pathway to recovery was not in a typical fashion to recovery. I just decided I wasn't going to do it, and I sought out social supports and kind of by accident or on purpose created a holistic path to recovery for myself, which is why we're bought into multiple pathways of recovery, which is a peer recovery competency. The what else? What is peer recovery work anyway? What makes peer recovery different than any other field? So peer recovery is not does not make you a substance use counselor. It doesn't make you a certified addiction counselor. What it does is it takes either your lived experience or your indirect experience by being a loved one of someone with a substance use disorder, and you'd have to check with their local boards. So for NADAC, for example, NADAC requires that you have your own direct experience. Some of the local boards may require that as well, but we'll go over that during training. And as you apply for the training, we won't accept you into the training if it's going to be a waste of your time. So we do a pre-screening, and that's why you'll see a training application that you have to apply, and we align our training application up to what you're going to have to do to become certified. We don't guarantee their certification. You still have to walk through that process with the board, but we want to do a pre-screening just to screen out any obvious things that would hinder you from getting certified post-training. So in addition to having the lived experiences, the indirect experience, we also specialize in a battery of assessments and quality. We want to make sure that we're not just saying peer recovery workers do this. We want to qualify that they're doing it and research and document the findings, and we've created workforce assessments and a number of things to be able to advance this field. And again, the field of peer recovery, what is it? So whether you have a lived experience or an indirect experience, peer recovery workers, what they do is they take that experience along with the formal training that they do with our organization, and then they get certified and they can go out and help other people who are trying to recover from addictions to drugs and alcohol. It's a peer recovery workers. The field of peer recovery has more outcomes than just about any other treatment for addiction, especially when combined with clinical work and then where needed, medically assisted treatment. It is one of those pieces that we found that works tremendously well in all communities, as long as we're doing it in a culturally responsive manner. And so we promote this, and we do the trainings for this, and we do it internationally. Our focus initially was nationally, but again, we've now become international, and so we are advancing the recovery industry by not only doing the trainings but creating solutions for peer recovery workers to do their work and do it well. We also have the who, what, when, where. The where we offer it in your area. We've already gone over the national piece and the international piece, and the how. And the how is that we provide the trainings, the resources, et cetera, but the how you will get certified. The certification process normally starts with you applying for training. You apply through training with us if you choose to take us as your training provider. And after you take the training and you complete the training, you'll be able to apply for your certification or certification exam in some cases. Some states may be doing grandfathering periods where you get to skip your exam, but you'll take the trainings. You'll also have to take and complete your internship before you can apply to be certified with the boards. And so normally there's an internship process that's 200 to 500 hours. It does not have to be a paid internship. It can be paid or unpaid. So that means you could be working in an environment as long as it's doing peer recovery work and you're adequately supervised. And supervision looks different in every state, and our trainers will go over that information with you and kind of walk you through that process. But after you've satisfied your education through us, and you've also satisfied your internship, whether it's 200 hours or 500 hours, and you have applied to the board will let you know when you can take your exam, if there is an exam period and not a grandfathering period. And if you hear that term grandfathering period, it just means that they're taking people that have been doing the work and they're grandfathering them in to a field without taking the national exam. You still would have to meet the other requirements. There's some states that are still in the grandfathering process and many are not anymore. But again, our trainers will go over that information with you and how you can get started with us. You can look at the links below. I do encourage that you go to our website, which is www.jordanpeerrecovery.com. You'll see some videos there that will inform you. There's one video from a graduate of ours who's talking about the work that he does on a day-to-day basis, and there's some other information there as well. But also use the links connected to this video so that you can apply for certification training. We should have some dates listed there for you to choose from, and then we'll see you soon.